And now wait a couple of minutes and then go live there. Okay, we're live. So Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams, Haribol, Haribol. Welcome everybody, welcome. February, Wednesday, 14th, 2024. So thank you all very much for logging in. Today's a very special day, many festival, appearance, disappearance days, etc. So we're going to try to attend to all of these different personalities in our katha. So we'll have a kirtan first, and we'll sing glorification of our spiritual masters. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Aradhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Rishatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Gaura Prashtaya Bhutale Shri Srimad Bhakti Pragyana Keshaviti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Gayatri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Dvaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, O Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. O Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Oh Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo. O Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Nityananda Rai. Oh Jaya Sachi Nandan Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachi Nandan Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachi Nandan Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachi Nandan Jaya Gaura. Oh Jaya Radha Madana Mohan Radha Madana Mohan Radhe, Radha Madana Mohan Radha Madana Mohan Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri. O Radhe, 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 Radhe. Jai Shri Shri Guru Garanga Ganhavika Giridhari Radha Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai Shri Prishabhana Nandini Vajeshwari Radharani Ki Jai Shri Nityananda Rai Ki Jai Shri Sachinandan Gaurahari Ki Jai Jai Nityalila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Srila Gaura Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Jai Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Jai Srila Baladevi Vibhushan Gaudi Vedanta Acharya ki jai. Jai Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur ki jai. Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Treya ki jai. Jai Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami ki jai. Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Shivata Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhattadasa Raghunath Sad Goswami Prabhu's ki jai. Jai Swarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Gauda Parsad ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haras Thakur ki jai. Prem Siga Hosi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Shri Gauda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Antadweep Mayapur Simantadweep Gautamdweep Madhyadweep Koladweep Ritadweep Janadweep Modamdweep Rudadweep Atmaka Navadweep Dham ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Go Govardhan Dvarasa Varmatmika Shri Brajamandal ki jai. Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund Jamuna Devi Ganga Devi Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi ki jai. Jai Shrimati Brinda Devi Maharani ki jai. Jai Yogamaya Punamasi Devi Maharani ki jai. Jai Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra ki jai. Ketra Mandal ki jai. Sarava Vigna Vinashakari Shina Shingadev Bhagavan ki jai. Bhakta Pravara Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. Chari Dham ki jai. Chari Sampradaya ki jai. Chari Acharya ki jai. Akara Mat Raj Shri Chaitanya Mat ki jai. Keshav Ji Gaudiya Mat ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jai Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Vakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Om Aginati Mirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha Priya Surupe Daita Surupe Prema Surupe Sahajabi Rupe Nijana Rupe Prabhueka Rupe Tatana Rupe Swavilasa Rupe Anapita Chirim Chirat Kuruna Vartino Kalo Samarpaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundaratu Dikatamba Sudipita Sada Hridare Kandare Spuratu Vasachinandanaha Yam Pravajantamanapetyam Apeti Krityam Dvaipaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putre Titam Mayatayo Tarabobinidustam Sarvabhutam Munim Ridim Muna Anatoshmi Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptascha Karmadi Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapala Brinde Namaste Charanarvindam Bhajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Baradram Tato Mamanasti Gatyana Kapi Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Rate Tvam Naimam Charanantikam. And first of all, offering millions and millions of Danvat pranams unto the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev. Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions and millions of times unto the lotus feet of our beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada. And again, I'm offering my Dandavat pranams to Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namane Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Vrayate, and to all our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Vargya and all the Vaishnav and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhavevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnave Namaha. So today is an extraordinary day, and there's I think it's 8 personalities I'm going to try and glorify in our limited time. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Let's try to glorify to the best of my ability. And the challenge will be to get it all in within approximately 40 minutes, because these personalities are enormous in their own rights. We could spend a whole hour talking about each of them. But initially, we're celebrating Vasant Panchami. This is celebrated as the beginning of spring, the first day of spring. There are 6 seasons here in Bharatbash: the winter season, the spring season, the summer season, the monsoon season, the Hemanta season, and then the autumn season. So that makes 6 seasons altogether. Did I say it right? 6 seasons, you count it? So yes, 6 seasons, and it's quite remarkable because they're very distinct, each season. And many times on this particular day, there's a definite break in the cold winter, and we can sense in the atmosphere that there's relief. Spring is on the way. So Krishna responds to that by initiating his Vasant Rasa. The Ras Lila is begun on this day. There's Sarat Purnima, that's the first day of Ras in Kartik, but Krishna performs this Ras Lila for a whole year. So this is a very special Ras Lila, Vasant Panchami, and only the most qualified gopis take part in this Lila. It's not all of the gopis that take part, not like Sarat Purnima Ras Lila. So it's an exceptional Lila. And the location is described as Chandra Sarovar, Parsholi, in Govardhan, just before Govardhan. We celebrate this Vasant Panchami. Ras Lila is there. So this is the celebration today. All over India, they are celebrating Vasant Panchami with flowers. Everything becomes yellow, decorated with mustard flowers in principle, mostly. And the ladies generally wear yellow saris, etc. And it's a very festive, beautiful occasion. And often they're beginning throwing the dyes, the colors, the Holi festival. It doesn't officially begin today, but many people use this festival as an opportunity to begin to throw the dyes on each other. It's very joyous. It's very wonderful. Everything here connected with Krishna is a festival. Any opportunity to celebrate the pastimes. It's very beautiful. So Vasant Panchami, and also today is Saraswati Puja. So we must appreciate that Saraswati, there's 2 manifestations of Saraswati. There's the manifestation in the material realm where people pray, especially today, to Saraswati to give them knowledge, help them with any exams, or help them become accomplished in a musical art or in painting or anything of that nature. She will give all of that knowledge to help create. And the most famous person that we hear about is Keshav Kashmiri in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time. He would worship this, it's called Vidya Saraswati. Vidya Saraswati is that more material Saraswati. And then there's Shuddha Saraswati or Divya Saraswati, that's the transcendental Saraswati. So Keshav Kashmiri was worshipping Vidya Saraswati, and he had defeated all the 10 directions. He was a Digvijay Pandit. Dig means the directions, Vijay means victory. So he'd had victory over all of Bharatvash at that time, and he came to Navadvip seeking another feather in his cap, and all the Pandits referred him to Nimai Pandit. But Nimai Pandit wasn't in a mood to go to any sort of official assembly, and he was just sitting on the banks of the Ganga with all his students, and just by chance Keshav Kashmiri appeared there, and the students, they informed Nimai Pandit, oh, this is the great famous Digvijay Pandit who's been challenging all the different Pandits of Navadvip, who were terrified to actually confront him, because he came with elephants, with practically an army of followers. This is how grandiose a personality he had become. So he came to the banks of the Ganga, and he saw young Nimai sitting there. So they had told him, oh, this is Nimai Pandit. So he approached Nimai Pandit, and it was a very cordial, beautiful introduction. And the students told Nimai, oh, this is Keshav Kashmiri, the great Digvijay Pandit. Mahaprabhu was most respectful, and he said, oh, my dear Pandit, please show us your wisdom and demonstrate your poetry. please glorify Mother Ganga Devi. So just it's described like the wind came from his consciousness. He glorified in 100 incredible verses, glorification of Ganga Devi. And of course, all the students were astonished. And Mahaprabhu, after he'd given his this poetic rendition of 100 verses, then he said, he picked out practically the middle verse and he quoted it right back to the Pandit. He said, this is very beautiful, but can you tell me, are there any faults in this verse? And Keshav Kashmiri said, there cannot be any faults in my verses. And Mahaprabhu said, well, forgive me, even though I'm not a scholar in Alanka Shastra, the intricacies, but I want to just comment on this one aspect. You've mentioned this Bhavani Bhartu, and this indicates in this 50th verse that actually the wife of Shiva is mentioned twice. Bhavani Bhartu. This is indicating, they're both indicating the wives of Lord Shiva. So it would indicate that Lord Shiva has two wives called Bhavani. Anyway, he revealed this fault, and Keshav Kashmiri was just astonished. He was astonished, first of all, because he could remember the verse out of 100 verses. And then he was astonished that he'd picked out a fault. And then Mahaprabhu went further and said, can you tell me the alankas, the ornaments of speech in this verse? And then Keshav Kashmiri, by this time, some sort of fear had really crept in. He'd realized he'd met someone very special here. And his whole mind was shut down, actually, because Saraswati was operating. Vidya Saraswati was operating in his consciousness, but actually she closed down. He couldn't think. He was stunned. So he was just silent. So Mahaprabhu, he described all the ornaments and all the defects of this one particular verse in about 5 ornaments and about 5 defects. And Keshav Kashmiri was just speechless. He couldn't speak. He couldn't find his tongue. And all the students, this is important to appreciate, began to laugh and giggle because he was like, being defeated. And Mahaprabhu immediately stopped them. No, don't dismantle his pride in this way. He gave that indication. He wasn't about to, do any internal operation of that sort on this person, and told them to leave his respect. So the students were very respectful. And then Mahaprabhu said, you go home and tomorrow we'll discuss more. So Keshav Kashmiri went home, and in the night he had a revelation because he'd always worshipped Vidya Saraswati. She came in his meditation very strongly and said, oh, this person that you are defeating, he is my master. So I cannot speak in his presence. So then Keshav Kashmiri, he understood that this is actually the Supreme Lord. He understood that. And then what happened then? I think Mahaprabhu came to see him. No, he came to see Mahaprabhu the next day, and he just submissively prostrated himself at his lotus feet and acknowledged his absolute supremacy. And Mahaprabhu instructed him, you can tell all your disciples now, your followers, all these hundreds of people that are following you, to now practice the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra and engage in bhakti yoga. And don't use your prowess in the Shastra to accumulate pratishta, to accumulate adoration of yourself, but glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead always. So he instructed and gave him mercy, very beautiful mercy. Actually, it's a beautiful pastime because we see the absolute mercy that Nimai Pandit, he bestows upon Keshav Kashmiri. So this is in the example of Vidya Saraswati. Now there's the Divya Saraswati, and she is described in Brahma Samhita. When Lord Brahma, he climbs down the stem of the lotus, and then he finds only just nothing there of substance that he's searching for, and he comes back to his lotus and he sits, and then he hears the sound tapa. So then he begins to meditate, and he's looking in 4 directions and 4 heads manifest. This is coming from the navel of Garbhodakshai Vishnu. So he's sitting there in this huge empty space and he's heard tapa. So he begins to meditate because he understands austerity, but he has nothing to practice that with. So he uses his limbs to actually perform the austerity or the puja like that. And he does for a long time. And then Divya Saraswati, at this point, it's described, she reveals to him the sound of the Gopal mantra. The Gopal mantra is received by Lord Brahma through the medium of Divya Saraswati. And then Lord Brahma, he becomes very much purified by chanting that mantra and sufficiently qualified. This is after many hundreds of years in earthly time. Then he becomes qualified to hear the Gayatri mantra, which manifests through the flute of Krishna as the Kam Bij mantra. So this second mantra, the Kam Bij mantra, the Gayatri mantra, comes through Krishna's flute. So then he hears that. But the initial Gopal mantra was bestowed by Divya Saraswati. So these are the two types of Saraswati. Now, of course, most people worshipping today in India are worshipping the Vidya Saraswati, the one to give them knowledge, etc. So that's who we're remembering today. So that's very brief. So Saraswati Devi ki jai and Vasant Panchami ki jai. Now I have to go on to the others. So yes, we've got Vishnu Priya today, her appearance day. Vishnu Priya is described as Bur Shakti. There's Shri, Bur, and Nila, three Shaktis. Shri is the manifestation of Lakshmi Dev. Bur Shakti is the manifestation of Vishnu Priya. And Bur Shakti represents Prithvi, Mother Earth. Mother Earth, Prithvi, is Bur Shakti. And Nila Shakti represents the Leela Stalis of Krishna. That means Goradam, Vrindavan Dham, Purushottam Dham. She's the Leela potency, Nila Shakti. So these three Shaktis are Krishna's eternal Shaktis. So Sri Lakshmi Devi had already appeared as the wife of Mahaprabhu, of Nimai Pandit. And then it's described as a very beautiful essay I'm going to post afterwards that our dear Srivas has just translated, which describes that Lakshmi Devi was the embodiment of bhakti, and this is why Mahaprabhu took her as his wife. But Vishnu Priya is the embodiment of prema bhakti. She's the prema bhakti. It's called the prema bhakti swarup. She's the prema bhakti swarup, is Vishnu Priya. So it's almost like Lakshmi Dev had to sort of move aside now because Mahaprabhu was elevating his consciousness, and then Vishnu Priya comes in to replace her as his wife. And then it's so beautiful pastime when my Gurudev would tell this pastime, because it's so tragic, because this is when Mahaprabhu, she's only about 14, 15 years old, and Mahaprabhu has come back from Gaya. He's taken initiation from Ishvara Puripad, and his moods and bhavs are rising significantly. And very soon after this, he decides to take sannyas. And that means leave his very young wife. And this is a very pathetic pastime. And Vishnu Priya is described, that morning she's gone to Mother Ganga and she stubbed her toe very badly. And she thinks, oh, this is inauspicious, and she becomes afraid. She's always afraid of her husband just leaving, of Nimai Pandit, because she knows that conception of sannyas is in the air. And then she loses her nose ring in the Ganga also. So she thinks this is really inauspicious. So she's trembling. She's very afraid now. And then Mahaprabhu, he comes home that night, and Kolavecha Sridhar, he's given him one loki and a quarter of milk. And he's told Sachimata to make this beautiful preparation, lucky, like a sweet rice preparation. And then he comes in to enjoy it with Vishnu Priya. And he garlands her and he decorates her. And he's never spoken to her like this before. Vishnu Priya is very, very nervous. She thinks, why is he doing like this? Why is he being so kind? Perhaps, he has the intention of leaving me at this time.
Do you know what
And,
age they are?
huh?
Do you know what age they are?
She's 14
And he
and
is.
he is 24.
Um,
He leaves, he takes for his sannyas at 24 years old. He spends in Navadvip, and that's 1510.
yeah.
And then 1534, he leaves this world. So there's 24 years here and 24 years in Puridan. So um, she decides, she becomes determined to stay awake all night, resolves totally. But then it's described that Yogamaya comes and makes her eyelids heavy like stones,
Mm.
as if there were stones on her eyelids. She just cannot stay awake. So when she um, goes to sleep, then Mahaprabhu, he quietly leaves. And then he finds that Mother Sachi is sitting right in the doorway.
Mm.
She's also heard a rumor, because Nityananda already knew this, Haridas Thakur knew this, and Gadadhar Pandit also knew this. They knew he was going to leave. He had to leave because those students were being disrespectful to him, and he decided the only way to generate respect in the world would be at least by the sannyas vesh. Then he could accomplish his task of benedicting the whole world with prem. He's only come to give prem. So at this point in Mahaprabhu's life, he's 24 years old. He's gone through Nimai the scholar. He's met Ishvara Puripat. He's come back from Gaya, and this Radha Bhav is beginning to surface in his heart. Previously, that Radha Bhav was always there from the very beginning, but it hadn't actually surfaced. It was like in potential. But now it was beginning to surface. When he's in that full Radha Bhav, he wouldn't manifest the Varaha form or the Nrsingadev form, etc. And we see that happens even when he comes back from Gaya. So it hasn't risen fully yet. It doesn't rise fully until he goes to the Godavari and meets Rai Ramananda. That's when it really, that Saki Bhav really takes off, manifests. But at this point, then his mother is sitting there, just absolutely blank. She can't, she's stunned. And Mahaprabhu comes and he touches her feet, and then she begins to weep. And Mahaprabhu, he circumambulates her, like 3, 4 times circumambulates her, and then he offers pranam to her. She knows exactly what's happening. And then he leaves directly for the ice-cold Ganga, because this happens in the month of Magh, in wintertime. Then he plunges into the Ganga and comes across to Katwa, where he receives the sannyas mantra from Keshava Bharati. And he whispers those mantras in Keshava Bharati's ear first. But meanwhile, Vishnu Priya, she's left there. And then Mahaprabhu, after some lila, he travels with Nityananda as if they're going to go to Vrindavan, but Nityananda tricks him and brings him back to Shantipur, where Advaita Acharya is, and they're having a huge festival. He's already shaved now, and he's taken sannyas. And my Gurudev describes the whole of Navadvip Dham, who are totally entranced, of course, by Nimai Pandit, by Mahaprabhu, just like in Vrindavan. Navadvip is Gupta Vrindavan. So as all the Brijbasis are totally intoxicated with prem towards Krishna, then all the Gora Dham Vasis are totally in love, immersed. And everybody comes to the festival to see. Mother Sachi comes to cook and everything. Or even the dogs come, except one person, Vishnu Priya. She doesn't come. Young girl, 14, 15 years old, just got married, and her husband is leaving forever for sannyas. It's remarkable. So she's going to demonstrate the highest strain of separation. And it's described how she chants one round and she takes 1 grain of rice, and that's bathed in her tears. And then she puts it aside, and then another grain of rice. Etc. She makes a mound of rice from her chanting, and then she'll cook that later, and she'll give half to Mother Sachi, and then half goes to the servant, and a quarter of that comes to her. And she lives for the rest of her life like that, worshipping this beautiful deity of Mahaprabhu, who manifests in the deity form. So this is an example of um, Vipralambha. And I was saying yesterday how Vipralambha is never really Vipralambha unless there's meeting in that mood internally, unless there's that, because Vipralambha is the highest state of ecstasy. It contains, it's called these Ashtasattvika bhavs we discussed the other day, and it's 8 of these Ashtasattvika bhavs that are in a blazing condition. There's 5 conditions of these Ashtasattvika bhavs. There's Domyata, which means just a light. Then there's Jwalita, that means there's some fire, a little bit of smoke. Then there's Dipta, Udipta, and Sudipta. There's 5 other grades. So when these moods are at their very height, it's called Sudipta. And there's 8 Ashtasattvika bhavs: Stamba, Pralaya, Vaivarnya, Svaved, Romansha, Kampar, all these different types of, and they're all 8 blazing. So we can understand that this is really the purest, the highest Vipralambha bhav when these 8. This is called Adiruddha Mahabhav. So this is what Vishnu Priya is experiencing in her astonishing separation pastime. So this is a very beautiful pastime. So we celebrate Vishnu Priya today, and we remember this beautiful pastime. So Vishnu Priya Ki Jai. Even in our Jaiva study, we're reading this chapter 11, where they're installing the deity that Vishnu Priya worshipped, that Dharmeshwara. We're reading the same thing. And I was mentioning that her appearance day is today. So we celebrate Vishnu Priya today. And then there is Pundarik Vidyanidhi, his appearance day today. Pundarik Vidyanidhi is the manifestation of Rishabhanu Maharaj. And he's born, takes his birth in Bangladesh today. She's called Chittagong. And in the same village, actually, the Gadadhar Pandit also took his birth in the same village. But Gadadhar Pandit comes to Navadvip quite early on as a young boy. And then later on, Pundarik Vidyanidhi comes. And then one day, we all know the pastime, Mukunda Datta, he knows that Gadadhar is very serious practitioner bhakta, and he says, oh, you have to come and meet this incredible personality. So Gadadhar goes with Mukunda Datta to the room, the house of Pundarik Vidyanidhi, and he's astonished. Pundarik Vidyanidhi is lying there in absolute regal opulence. He's lying on like a royal bed with cushions and pillows, smoking a hookah. His hair is all oiled. There's mirrors around for him to look at himself. He's taking pan, there's gold spittoon, etc. Servants are fanning him. He's obviously, a very opulent personality. And Gadadhar, who has been brought up in a very renounced atmosphere, is astonished and he's shocked. And he doesn't feel that this is, why has Mukunda Datta brought him here? And then Mukunda, he understands Gadadhar's hesitation. Then he chants this beautiful verse, Aho Bhakiyam Stana Kalakutam, Jikhamsa Yapaya Yarapida Sadvi, Laphegatim Datri, Ucham Tatom Yam, Kam Vadayalam Sharanam Brajema. This beautiful verse, which is the compassionate verse of the Bhagavatam, describing how Krishna bestows mercy on Putana, this witch who came to murder him as a child, and gives her a birth in Goloka Vrindavan, which is the peripheral of Gokul Vrindavan, as a nursemaid. So this demonstrates Krishna's amazing compassion and mercy. So Gadadhar Pandit, what happens to Pundarik Vidyanidhi when he hears this verse, he just goes into the highest ecstasy conceivable. And Gadadhar Pandit is astonished. He breaks all the mirrors, he smashes the hookah over, he breaks his bed, he tears all his fancy silk cloths up, he pulls all his silk oiled hair out, and he's just rolling around on the ground, my Gurudev describes, for 4 or 5 hours. This verse can trigger some absolute connection with the Lord in his most compassionate feature. So it just triggered that mood of the reality of Krishna's presence, Brajendrananda and Shamsundar's presence, because this happened in Braj. Of course, the Putana demon approached Krishna in Braj. So when Gadadhar sees this demonstration of absolute bhav, then he's shocked and he's stunned and he feels, oh, I've made some big offense because I was thinking negatively in my mind. And then he decides, I'll take initiation from this person. There's no other way to counteract my offense. This person is so special. I'll take initiation. But first he goes to Mahaprabhu and he confirms with Mahaprabhu if that's okay that he takes initiation from Pundarik Vidyanidhi. Mahaprabhu, yes, you can. And then Gadadhar Pandit goes and he takes direct initiation from Pundarik Vidyanidhi. But there's many pastimes of Pundarik Vidyanidhi in Purushottam Ketra and Puridam also. He once criticizes the pujaris there for using a starched cloth to worship Lord Balaram and Balaram, to worship Jagannath and Balaram. And then they come in his dream that night and they slap his face, both of them, so hard that his face actually all puffs up. And then the next day, Pundarik Vidyanidhi is too shy to go out because his face is all swollen. But Swarup Damodar, he comes to visit him and he sees all his face is swollen. And he asks why. So Pundarik Vidyanidhi can reveal to Swarup Damodar actually what happened. Swarup Damodar is astonished. And then he realizes, whatever they do in Jagannath Puri is okay. Jagannath will tolerate and accept so many anomalies in the various puja and so on. It was okay. Anyway, this is another pastime. So there are many beautiful pastimes of Pundarik Vidyanidhi. He was an older person. He was a disciple of Madhavendra Puri. So he's in that age group. And Mahaprabhu was referencing him as Nara. Nara, where is that? Nara is at Vaitacharya. Where is his father? I've forgotten how he was calling him, but he was calling him in a very beautiful way. So then he takes initiation, Gadadhar, from Pundarik Vidyanidhi, who of course is Vrishabhanu Nandini, the actual father of Srimati Radhika, who is in the form of Gadadhar. So it's completely perfect. So this is something of Vidyanidhi, Pundarik Vidyanidhi. I mean, there are other things, but I want to go through. We only got 15 minutes left. So, and now is Raghunath Das. We're celebrating today his appearance day. It's appearance day of Pundarik Vidyanidhi, the appearance day of Raghunath Das also. So Raghunath Das takes his birth near where Saptagram. It's very close to Saptagram near Shantipur. No, Saptagram and Shantipur are quite close together, but it's on the bank of the Ganga, and it's just across from Calcutta actually. And his father and uncle are Govardhan and Hiranya Majumdar, and they are zamindars and they're vastly wealthy. And he's the only heir, so they're trying to groom him to take over the kingdom of all their wealth because they've accumulated a lot of wealth. And Raghunath he was introduced to Haridas Thakur when he was very young by Balaramacharya. This Balaramacharya is the guru of the household, as well as Yadunandanacharya. There's two gurus in the household. So Haridas Thakur comes to stay with Balaramacharya, and Raghunath Das is invited there one time. His father sends him across to take darshan of Haridas Thakur, and he brings much wealth and so on with him to distribute. And my Gurudev describes that Haridas Thakur at that time planted the seed of Vairagya in the heart of Raghunath Das, because Raghunath Das demonstrates this Vairagya throughout his life. So Raghunath Das, that Vairagya took seed after his darshan with Haridas Thakur, and then it just grew and grew and grew, etc. So then he was always trying to run away from his father's house and go to Jagannath Puri to be with Mahaprabhu because he'd heard about Mahaprabhu, just wanted to spend time with him, but his father, soldiers always brought him back. Then one day there was an incredible festival at Panihati, and well, first of all, he had darshan of Mahaprabhu. Before this, Mahaprabhu came to the house of the Vaitacharya in Shantipur, and Raghunath goes there, meets Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu tells him to calm down, don't be too impatient to run away to Puri. Actually, the game is make your parents feel confident that you're going to stay, because they'd married him to, how my Gurudev describes, Miss Universe. to try to keep him. They, to try and keep him in the family, but it wouldn't. Raghunath slept outside and his wife slept inside. So Mahaprabhu advises him, just become calm. So Raghunath, he follows that. And then when Nityananda comes a few months later, then Raghunath is allowed to go and have darshan of Nityananda with many servants. And then there's the beautiful Panihati festival, which takes place at that time. And Nityananda catches him and said, "You're a thief, you're trying to look at me from a distance. The punishment will be you'll have to feed all these Vaishnavas. You go and buy chip rice and dahi and bananas." And there's a beautiful description of this Panihati festival. But at the end, Raghunath Das gets the mercy of Nityananda with his lotus feet on his head. And Nityananda says, at the right time, your liberation to run to Puri will manifest. And then a few weeks or months after that, then when Raghunath is at home one morning, early morning, then Yadunandana Acharya, the family guru, he comes and he requests Raghunath to come and help him wake up this pujari who hasn't come to do the seva. And all the guards and everything, they're thinking, well, this is the guru, Yadunanda Acharya. Raghunath has settled down now. So they don't say anything about him walking across the empty fields in the very early morning. And then when they get halfway across the fields, then Raghunath turns to Yadunanda Acharya and says, no need for you to come. I'll just go and I'll tell the pujari to come and do the puja, and then that'll be fine for you. No need to walk so far. So Yadunanda Acharya agrees, and at that time, Raghunath just goes like a rocket, takes off running to Jagannath Puri. It's described it takes 10 days to get to Jagannath Puri, which is about 1,600 miles, I think. And practically not sleeping, just running. And he's taking all the back roads, so it's a lot longer journey, so his father won't catch up with him. And then when Raghunath arrives in Puri, the devotees, they point him out to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and immediately Mahaprabhu comes up and embraces him and says, you've been relieved from a ditch of stool, a stool pitch. A ditch is where you've been relieved from that family environment. And he embraces him, even though Raghunath is completely emaciated, dirty and everything. Mahaprabhu happily embraces him. And then he calls Swarup Damodar and says, I'm putting this young boy into your hands. And he will now be called Swarup Raghu, the attendant of Swarup Damodar. And Swarup Damodar, he takes care of him. Now, Raghunath stays in Puridam for the next 14 years. And he witnesses so many of the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, especially his exhibition of this Vipralamba Bhav, when he becomes like contracted like a tortoise, and then in the ocean all his limbs become elongated. So Raghunath Das is direct witness of all these activities. And he's there for 14 years. Then when Mahaprabhu leaves this world, then Gadadhar leaves this world, and Swarup Damodar leaves this world. All the senior devotees, they all leave this world. Raghunath Das is mortified. He thinks there's no way for me to stay, but because he's worshipping the shalagram that Mahaprabhu gave him, he thinks, I'll go to Govardhan and jump off Govardhan, end my life. I cannot remain here in this mortal world. So he comes to Govardhan, and then he meets Rupa and Raghunath, and they convince him, no, don't leave your body. You have work to do for Mahaprabhu. You have service to do. You come and live in Radhakund, and we'll make you a kutia here, and you can stay on the banks of Radhakund. He stays there for the next 40 years. So 14 years in Puri and 40 years in Radhakund. And at that time, of course, he is associating with Krishnadas Kaviraj. And Rupa Goswami is there also. And Sanatan Goswami is there to begin with, then they also leave. But all the truths of our Chaitanya Charitamrita are coming from the heart of Raghunath Das Goswami. And the notebooks that Swarup Damodar kept, they're called Kadachas, but they were held in the throat of Swarup Damodar. And he impregnated them into the heart of Raghunath Das. And Raghunath Das speaks all of these truths. We've actually got these personalities in the form of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And it's coming directly from the heart of Raghunath Das Goswami and Swarup Damodar through his notes, as well as Rupa Goswami is also present there. And then we get the beautiful description of his Vilap Kusumanjali when he's describing this Antardesh, these moods of Manjari in worship to Srimati Radhika? What are the activities that the Manjaris do? So these are so excellent prayers. There's 104 verses of these prayers, and they were all written over a period of many, many years. They weren't written all together. Many, many years they were written. He also composed this Mana Shiksha. He gives us that, and other writings. But this Vilap Kusmanjali is principal to describing the nature of Manjari Bhav. So we have that. So this is a little bit of Raghunath Das, just to get an appreciation of flavor. All we can do today is get the flavor of these personalities. So Raghunath Das Ki Jai. Then we come to Raghunandan, who is the son of Mukunda Shekhar. Mukunda Shekhar is just down the road in Shrikand. And his younger brother is Narahari Shekhar. And they're Vaidyas, they're Ayurvedic doctors. And one day when Raghunandan in the spiritual world, he's Pradumna. He's one of the Chatuvyuha. There are four: Sankarshan, um, Pradumna, Aniruddha, and Vasudev. These four personalities, they make up the Chatuvyuha. So Raghunandan is Pradumna, very empowered personality. So one day his father has to go to work. He's very busy. He hasn't got time to do the puja. And he requests Raghunandan, you please make the offering. I have to go. And Raghunandan, just a little boy, 7 or 8 years old, comes in with the offering plate, offers it to Krishna, and Krishna's not coming to take it. So Raghunandan becomes really unhappy, starts to weep and cry. Why aren't you coming to take your bhoga? My mother has prepared. You're not coming to take? Is it because I'm too young, because I don't know enough mantras? Why are you not coming? He breaks Krishna's heart. Krishna comes down from the altar, Gopinath, and takes that prasadam, takes it all, takes the whole plate. And Raghunandan is very happy. He comes out, plate is empty. Mother says, where's the prasad? He said, well, you told me to offer it to Gopinath. He took it and he ate it. Mother is very, because she knows her son is so honest, cultured boy. Never would lie about something like that. She can't understand. She's completely bewildered. When her husband comes home, she explains. Husband questions Raghunandan and can't understand what happened. But so the next day, Mukunda, he says again to Raghunandan, I have to go again to attend to some sick people. You again, please do the. But this time he hides behind a curtain. And Raghunandan again is appealing to Gopinath to come and take the prasad. And Gopinath is really hesitant because, of course, he knows that Mukunda is behind the curtain. But he does come out because Raghunandan demonstrates so much affection for Gopinath. And he comes out very quickly and he starts taking all the boga. And at that time, Mukunda, he comes out and reveals himself. He's astonished. And at that time, Gopinath, he has a laddu in his hand and he's just taken a bite of the laddu. And then he freezes because Mukunda Shekhar has come. And now, if we go to that Shrikand, we can see that same deity of Gopinath, and he's got half a laddu in his hand. So this is the potency of Raghunandan. And there was a time when Mahaprabhu was asking Mukunda Shekhar, who is the elder, you or Raghunandan? And Mukunda said, oh, Raghunandan is the elder. He is my leader in devotion. And Mahaprabhu was very happy. He said, yes, yes. And there was another time when Raghunandan later on was dancing in Kirtan with Mini Ketana Ramdas, who we hear about many times in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in such an ecstatic kirtan that one of his ankle bells fell off and flew away 4 miles and landed in what became a kund in the home of one of his disciples, Krishnadas. And it's now called Nupura Kund. Nupura means ankle bell. So this is one of the Gopals of Nityananda Prabhu. But you can go today and you can see that pond where the Nupur landed. So Raghunandan was an extremely potent personality, and he preached vigorously the conceptions of Mahaprabhu. And he's younger than the initial parikars that came with Mahaprabhu. So he's speaking to personalities like Srinivasacharya, who's the next generation down with Narottam and Shyamananda. They're the next generation after Mahaprabhu. So he gave a lot of association to Srinivasacharya. And Raghunandan's incredible personality. So Raghunandan Prabhu Ki Jai. And then we have today Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur. So Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, it's his Tirobhav. It's his disappearance day. And Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, we know, is like a manifestation again of Rupa Goswami. It's not the same personality, but he totally and utterly embodies everything about Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami gave us the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur gives us the Bindu, a drop from the Sindhu. And Rupa Goswami gave us the Ujjwala Nilamani, and Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur gives us the Kiran, which is a shortened version of that Ujjwala Nilamani. He practically replicated all the teachings of Rupa Goswami. He opened them out even more. He completely concluded the principal writings of Rupa Goswami. It's very interesting just to appreciate that Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, in his early years, when he was in his 20s practically, he wrote this commentary on Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which we call the Bindu today. And he wrote this commentary on the Ujjwala Nilamani in his early years. And in his later years, he writes his commentary on the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So it's just interesting to appreciate that, because the Bhagavad Gita is more general people. So he was writing like that towards the end of his life. Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur is Vinod Manjari in his spiritual form. And he lived in Radhakund, and he would preach very, very vigorously against caste Brahmanism. And one day, some caste Brahmanas, they wanted to murder him, and they followed him on the Parikrama trail. And Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur was aware of that, and he walked into one grove of trees and flowers, and these three men, they followed him, planning to murder him. India's like that. There's a very, very heavy side. Anyway, they were planning to do a lot of violence to him. And all they saw was this young girl picking flowers. And they were amazed. They said, "Oh, have you seen that man? Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur?" He said, "He's somewhere." And somehow they understood that this is Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur in his spiritual form, in his identity. Then they all became completely stunned, and they all three took initiation from him directly, because he'd manifested that. He was such a potent personality, Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur. And we know the pastime when the Govinda ji in Jaipur was being challenged by the Smarta Brahmins and the Ramanujas, that he can't stand there with Radhika because there's no praman. For Radhika is some mistress or some consort. How can Govinda stand with his mistress in such a public place? Because they were very much Vaidhi Bhaktas, these smartas. But the king, he wanted Radhika to stand with Govindadev. So he asked Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, "You please come quickly and write a commentary so we can defeat these Brahman Pandits and these smartas, etc." Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur was too old. So he sent his dear disciple, Baladev Vidyabhushan. And Baladev Vidyabhushan came, and within 7 days, he manifested this Govinda Bhasya, which totally satisfied all the pundits. And this Govinda Bhasya is written directly from the inspiration of Govinda. And Baladev Vidyabhushan gives all credit to Govinda, has actually written this Govinda Bhasya. And Baladev Vidyabhushan was simply the scribe writing the words. So we can say that Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur was very instrumental in inspiring that. Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur's guru is Raman Manjari, and Raman Manjari's guru is Krishna Charan, and Krishna Charan's guru is Ganga Narayan, and Ganga Narayan's guru is Narottam Das Thakur, and Narottam Das Thakur's guru is Lokanath Goswami, and Lokanath Das Goswami, his guru is actually directly Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is the line of Srila. And in the Gokulananda Mandir, we see that whole beautiful compound where Lokanath Goswami is sitting in the principal center of that compound, you remember? And then directly opposite is Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, his samadhi, and next to him is Narottam Das Thakur. And then Ganga Narayan is a little bit further there. So that's his line. So it was Radharaman first, and then Radhacharan, and then Ganga Narayan, and then Narottam Das Thakur, and then Lokanath Goswami, then Mahaprabhu. So that's his line. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Ki Jai 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 Jai. How can we stop glorifying Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur? It's just too much, too much. Why do they all have to leave on the same day? Why do they all make their appearances on such a day? It is a very festive day because it's Vasant Panchami simultaneous. So it's a very auspicious day. But today also is the Tirubhav of Srila Bhakti Vivek Bharati Maharaj, who was a dear disciple of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati and was a tremendous preacher. He was a very large man and he could speak very beautiful Harikatha and would be very influential in bringing so many personalities to the path of bhakti. And he preached vigorously, particularly in Dhaka. In Dhaka, he was there, and because of his preaching, the Hindus there had actually become afraid of the strength of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's teachings through the mouthpiece of Bhakti Vivek Bharati. And Bhakti Vivek Bharati wanted to establish a center for the Gaudiya Vaishnavas in Dhaka. And none of the Hindus would give him any property and sale him. They were all afraid. And it ended up that a Muslim who had seen and recognized the purity of this personality, he gave him a place. And today, that very place is a Gaudiya Mat that was gifted originally by a Muslim uh, personality. So we see how the workings go. But this person was so influential that even the Muslims would become attracted to him. He was like, what do you call it? Not sectarian in any sort of way. He was just a lover of God. When you're a lover of God, you love everybody. You don't see these distinctions like that. So Bhakti Vivek Bharati Maharaj is a very empowered preacher of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. So many pastimes. And we're so indebted when we think about these personalities to Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj, who introduced us to many of these personalities. He wrote My Glorious Masters. He wrote these different books explaining the glories of all of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati's disciples, remarkable disciples, all of them. And without having this this literature, we wouldn't know any of these histories today. So we thank Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj and for his constant telling us that unless we glorify these people on their appearance and disappearance day, it constitutes an offense. And this is the main reason why I'm doing all this today, is because I'm thinking of his words. Many times I've heard him say this, that if we don't actually honor all these people on their days of appearance and disappearance day, it constitutes an offense. But how educational is it for us to understand all these personalities? It's only because of um, us glorifying them, because don't doubt that the Kripa of Raghunath Das, Raghunandan, Pundarik, Vishnupriya, all the Saraswati Devi, Divya Saraswati Devi, and we want a bit of Vidya Saraswati Devi also, why not? But principally, we want that connection with transcendence. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, don't doubt that if we have heard glorification or we've spoken glorification or if we're thinking favorably about these persons, there's a window open directly from that realm, which will shine into the heart today to inspire us with a special flavor of Kripa from these personalities, so we can remember all these personalities with great um, humility and beg to be allowed entrance into their world of transcendence through our purified consciousness one day, to please take us to that realm where we can serve Radha and Krishna in a non-envious, uninhibited way. So I'm praying to all these personalities to please give me their kripa today, and please forgive any omissions or mistakes. I've tried to capture everything in 40. I've done very well. I'm happy. I've managed to actually say something about all of them. But as I said, there is so much more. I'm going to post a beautiful lecture by our Srivas, translated from the Patrika, onto our WhatsApp thread so people can see the Bhakti Parameshwari, who is this Vishnu Priya. Beautiful description of her. So Vasant Panchami ki jai, Saraswati Puja ki jai, Vishnu Priya ki jai, Pundarik Vidyanidhi ki jai, Raghunath Das Goswami Pad ki jai, Raghunandan Thakur ki jai, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur ki jai, or Bhakti Vivek Bharati ki jai. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhavevacha, Patitanam Pavanibhyo, Vaishnave Namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Oh, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare. Itai Goda Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Goda Hari Bol, Nitai Goda Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha. Kripa Sindhabevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnave Namo Namaha.